Oh, welcome to another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast, episode 154. It has been such a long time since we have been back with you, all the way back to our live draft show from Anthony's Pizza. Once again, big thanks to Anthony's for having us out for that. It was a blast, a lot of fun, but we're back. We are back in business, recording more content for you. We had to take some time off. The weapon Dan Dembski cannot be with us. The Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez, he is off doing other business as well. So wishing our guys, part of the three-man booth, all the best on the Kirby on Sports podcast. So we have a pretty big show. We'll be talking NBA Finals as the Golden State Warriors find their way back on top, beating the Boston Celtics 4-2 in the series. We'll be talking some NHL playoffs action as the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning have found their way dancing for a Stanley Cup. Can the Lightning three-peat? It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some special guests along the way, and one actually right here in the studio. So we will get this going. My guy by the name of Tristen, he has expressed interest to come on and sort of talk some sports. I'm like, hey, how about it? My man Tristen, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing, man?
Hey,
Thanks for having me on.
hey, great to be with you. Great to have you in studio. And folks, if you haven't forgotten our sponsors, we must thank our sponsors for all their support of the Kirby on Sports podcast. PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. And before we get things officially rolling, we are coming to you from Studio K, the Kirby on Sports podcast. Tristen, we'll start off the show because I'll be honest, folks. I'll be completely honest here. It's the fact of the matter is I don't really follow the NBA as much as other people do. I might get some flack for that, but who cares? Come on. I mean, just the NBA, it just hasn't interested me in years past. And it's like I got to figure out a way to cover this for my podcast because I don't have a darn clue what was going on except for the fact that Golden State beat Boston and a Klay Thompson impersonator snuck his way onto the court, shooting around for 10 minutes before getting kicked out and permanently banned. That video was awesome. Big Doss TV. That's who it was. He looks just like Klay Thompson, and it's like, oh my gosh, he snuck on.
I could not believe that happened. Like, he got past so many people.
And people were like, hey, good luck tonight, so on and so forth. And
he's tall and looks like him.
I know. And he got permanently banned.
Yeah. That's crazy. Great video though.
Yeah,
tons of views.
I bet you that's gonna be like millions and millions and millions and millions of views and stuff. Yeah. News outlets have reached out to him, but I mean he's declined it because he doesn't want to make it more than it already is. So NBA Finals, just I guess take us through it. There was a lot of exciting action. I know you follow the Miami Heat a lot. The Celtics, the Bucks, obviously they were the main storyline, getting ousted in the second round by the Boston Celtics. I mean, the Golden State Warriors for a while, they were not looking so good, and they made it back and won the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of what ifs. Golden State looked dominant down the stretch, but it's like with the Bucks, they lost Chris Middleton, so the second round, them losing that had a big part of it. I wouldn't be surprised if they I think they could have beaten the Celtics possibly. Like the Bucks are a really good team out of the West. I mean, the Nuggets don't have Jamal Murray. Freaking the Warriors did it without James Wiseman. Like once he gets back, it's gonna be a game changer. I mean, the Heat, I think were outmatched. Like I'm a Heat fan, but I think the Celtics deserve to win that series. Like Jimmy wasn't at 100%. Kyle Lowry was Draymond started to contribute. Andrew Wiggins took over in game 5. Like Steph could take the game off quite literally, and Andrew Wiggins stepped up. Clay gave him that solid freaking 15 to 25 points from game. I mean, throughout the series almost. He had 2 games where it wasn't that great. But Wiggins balled out. You've got freaking Jordan Poole, who was in the summer league just last year. You have Gary Payton coming in, who was in the summer league for the last 5 years, like coming in and giving excellent minutes. Like, and Jordan Poole's even hurt towards the end of the series, not playing fully, or to his full potential. But Kayvon Looney's got a crazy story. Like Kayvon Looney, and he's undersized. He was in there with Robert Williams. But yeah, basically once they got that 3rd game in game 5, it seemed like the series was over, and Tatum and Jaylen Brown balled out. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum played fantastically. I mean, Jaylen Brown had a couple of fantastic games when Jason Tatum wasn't that efficient. Robert Williams was sending 2 shots away a game. Marcus Smart, I mean, he's just great. He's all around good. You want him as your teammate, but yeah, no, I thought the Celtics really had a chance to win the series until game 5. And then I'm like, the Warriors are winning game 6. And that's what they did. I mean, I couldn't say that completely confidently, but it looked like Steph was ready to just unleash. And Clay didn't even play that well. Like, you know, Clay just played a role player type role. So if they can keep that core together, for the most part, both teams, they could be back there. It's going to be harder for Golden State to do so. I don't think Boston's payroll is that crazy, but Golden State's is going to be, because like Wiggins and Jordan Poole are going to be demanding a lot of money here, like within the next year or so. So I'd like to see where that goes. But yeah, great to see Steph win a Finals MVP finally.
Yeah, but I mean, they've won the Finals so many years, and he hasn't been picked MVP until this year.
Yeah.
Which is nuts in my opinion. Like with the stats and everything that Steph has put up in years past, it's like, I mean, the candidate's right in front of you, and still, I mean, nothing.
Iguodala got the 1, and then KD got 2, I guess, when he was there. But Steph's just an all-around. I don't think he was that upset about it. You know, all those players. I saw somebody talking the other day about what Steph does. Like Steph got Iguodala Finals MVP on the backside of his career. Like Kevin Durant couldn't win. He couldn't get. I mean, he had that 1 year in OKC, but he couldn't get anywhere without. Like Steph is just there, and when he has to do his thing, he can win Finals MVP. He could have won it in those other series, but why not? Like, it's just like Jimmy Butler. I mean, I'm big on Jimmy Butler. He'd go out there and score no points and have 20 assists if it helped the team win. Guys like that. But no, freaking all-time player. I mean, I think that broke Steph into the top 10 all time, in my opinion.
If you're watching us on YouTube, we're coming to you from Studio K talking NBA Finals with Tristen, my guy, big NBA guy. He expressed interest, wanted to come on the show. So here we are. Once again, you can find the Kirby on Sports podcast on all streaming platforms as well, and www.kirbyonsports.com. One team I'd like to discuss in the NBA Finals is Phoenix. Phoenix has been looking very good over the past couple of years. They make it to the second round and lose to number 4 seed Dallas, which I sort of followed this series a little bit. I really feel like Phoenix should have won. I feel like they could have made it a lot farther, but what do you think happened with Phoenix that had them out in the second round?
Chris Paul just doesn't have championship pedigree, it seems. I mean, it's been this was like his 16th year, and last year was his first time in the finals with that team that went like freaking 16-20 damn near. And they got to the finals and they couldn't compete with the Bucks. And then this past year, I mean, the Dallas Mavericks were playing really well. Luka Doncic was on a tear. And then, like I said, Brunson has been really, really good as well. But Yeah, I just think Chris Paul can't finish. DeAndre Ayton is still a project there. And besides that, they just have a lot of young guys. Devin Booker doesn't seem like he's got it either. I mean, that's a really good roster. And their regular season like record over the last 2 years, I'm almost certain it's the best in the league. And then they laid an egg when they got to the playoffs this year. And yeah, it's crazy to me see them play so well throughout the regular season and in the playoffs choke because Devin Booker is an all NBA caliber guy. Chris Paul is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like DeAndre Ayton could be an all-star. I mean, I'm not quite sure about him yet. He's averaging like 18 and 10 so far, but he's still like 24, 25. So they've got a lot of potential, but I would have liked to see them win last year. But you could see that they were outmatched once it got to the finals. So
Another team who sort of did not perform well in the first round, the Chicago Bulls. It seemed like they were struggling against Milwaukee the entire series.
Yeah. I mean, it's another two of those guys that I don't. They're not guys that are going to propel you through the playoffs. Is in DeRozan and Levine. I mean, DeRozan was great with the Raptors, but never did anything. The playoffs were there. Then he went to San Antonio. I mean, the year that the Raptors went away was when DeRozan got traded. Efficient, very efficient, but him and Levine are just scoring monsters. And I'm not even familiar with that much of the rest of the roster. I mean, Kobe White from UNC, right? They've got young guys, but nah. I mean, they looked really solid during the regular season for a little bit, but then it was just like the Knicks in the beginning of the season. They looked great and they fell apart, but I felt like they were on a similar trajectory. But the Knicks fell way harder. But Chicago can't hang with Giannis. They don't have anybody that can guard Giannis, dude.
Oh yeah,
even without Middleton.
Absolutely, Giannis, the Greek freak. I mean, what a character, what a class act in the NBA, and I'm just kind of disappointed not to see him go back and win two.
Yeah, no, I mean he's already got. I mean, two would just be insane to start his career because he could retire right now and be considered for the Hall of Fame as far as like that he's won whatever 2 MVPs now. He's accomplished pretty much everything now after getting the championship last year. But this year, I'm telling you, like if they had Middleton, I think they could have made a run. I think it was just that because Middleton's an excellent second fiddle. Like, so I think the East, like it used to be where the West was really dominant. Like I think both sides have some really scary teams, like that are just one person is making a difference. One person being hurt, one person being a little bit too young. But and that's another team. Freaking Milwaukee's got money to spend. One of these teams could pick up another free agent. Like, so one other piece that could be somebody that is their leader and all these guys with excellent scoring ability follow behind them, then these teams could. A lot of scary teams. Yeah. Both of them, Washington and or not Washington.
Yeah, Washington. What? Washington?
Chicago and Milwaukee.
Gosh.
Yeah, Washington's a different story.
Even I know Washington's a different story, bro. Come on. I mean, ever since trading John Wall, that must have been one of the high. I mean, one of the high points because I mean, we see how John Wall turned out. Yeah. The Westbrook trade. Man,
I mean that one was getting rid of Westbrook was smart. You guys started to get it. Like you need to start investing somewhat in the younger people. Westbrook's not going to do anything for you. And I'm really surprised. Like I'm reading that Bradley Beal is going to opt out and then sign a 5-year max with Washington. And I just think that's crazy because I just think they need to do something. I think they should have done more with him by now. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they should have surrounded him like I support that team for sure, but they've been bad for years and years now. Like since John Wall and Bradley Beal were there doing their thing, like since then they haven't surrounded Bradley Beal with anybody to help him win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely a sticky situation. Kind of the NBA draft just passed, picked up some guys. So
yeah,
I mean we'll see how that pans out. I'm not really sure, but looking ahead to next season, what are some of your like early predictions? Sort of like storylines or bold predictions, something like that for next season.
I think the Pistons could be a Verge playoff team, one of those ones that can go from worst to first because they cashed in on I'm not great with the names of all these draftees from the other day yet, but they picked up a couple. The Thunder snagged Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga, and they're gonna put him. They've got another 6'10" forward that's quick like him. They got Josh Giddey. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luke Dort, or Lou Dort. They've got a really solid young core. So I could see the Thunder being in the running. Like I said, as a Heat fan, I think the Heat their window might have passed. I'm hoping not. I think the Heat, their window might have passed, unfortunately. But out of the West, I think Golden State could continue to do this. I'd like to see what Jamal Murray brings to the table when he comes back for the Denver, because he's been out pretty much the last 2 years, and he was an all-star. And Michael Porter Jr. too. They're the Nuggets could be solid. The Jazz are just always up there in the standings and never a threat. I think Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert is gone within the next year or so from that team. And I see the Lakers stirring it up maybe. I mean, I really could see the Lakers trying to trade for Kyrie or something. I think that something with Kyrie might happen in the next couple of days.
In the Lakers, too, I mean, it's just interesting to see LeBron not in the playoffs.
No, right? Exactly. No, because he beat us in the finals, in the bubble finals, the Mickey Mouse one. But no, it's weird. It's weird seeing how bad they were this year, because it seems like LeBron's always on a dominant team, and they have at the beginning of the year, they're freaking Carmelo, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron. Who's stopping them? Everyone.
I get it. I see. But NBA Talk with Tristen once again from Studio K, the Kirby on Sports podcast. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, don't worry, Tristen isn't going anywhere. We'll be coming back to him later talking some baseball, but we will talk some NHL playoffs action and Stanley Cup Finals action on the other side of this break. We appreciate you tuning in once again from Studio K. This is the Kirby on Sports podcast. We'll be right back. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. All right, back with you on the Kirby on Sports podcast. We are bringing on a guest we have had on numerous times. I'll say for sure the two things she hates the most is the Pittsburgh Penguins and Brad Marchand. From the Power Play Point podcast, Anna Knox. Anna, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Josh?
Man, yeah, I mean, this Stanley Cup playoffs, I think you're I was thinking about you the other day. I was like, you must be so glad that in this playoffs, neither the Bruins or the Penguins got out of the first round. I mean, also, the Caps with absolutely no goaltending experience, obviously get beat in 6 games to Florida. But if the Caps can't get out, if the Penguins, for me at least, if the Penguins can't get out of the first round, I'm content and I'll just watch playoff hockey.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel the same. And you have to, don't forget Ryan Reeves. I hate Ryan Reeves.
Oh, yeah. He's a Ranger now, isn't he?
Yeah. So there was a chance that I was, oh, man, it was going to be really hard because I'm like, who do I pull for? Could have been Tampa Bay or the Rangers. And I'm like, I want to go with the Rangers. Like, would have been a fun series to watch, except then I would have to pull for Ryan Reeves. And I just don't know if my heart was in it.
Anna,
This has been a fun series, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anna, we've talked numerous times about Capitals playoff hockey. I guess we'll just start there. I mean, pretty good Panthers team that they were up against. I know for a fact, like their power play kills penalty kills, rather, were excellent against them. I think that was incredible, but yeah, the Caps, and I think the main storyline going into this off season is the fact of the matter is they need an experienced goalie.
Yep. It's the biggest struggle. And also you have to take into consideration that, yes, I'm a huge Tom Wilson fan. We know, but he really kicked ass this season. And it was like, and then to have him go out the first game, that really kind of hurt the vibe, I think, in the locker room, everything else. And to not have him on ice is like, oh, and then Backstrom's not 100%. And then the inconsistencies with the goalies is just an ongoing frustration. And I still feel like I'm a Vitek Vanacek fan. I'd like to see him. There's something I think that he offers a little more consistency between the pipes, but it's so hard at this point. It's like, what do you do? Do you keep two, unexperienced, I guess it's how you say it, goalies, or you bring in someone who's, well into their 30s, who's kind of on the end of their, I don't know. It's a tough call. What are your thoughts on the goalie situation?
I mean, they need somebody. I don't know. I mean, I thought, I'm gonna go back when and I lost his name. Who was it? That Lundqvist, Henrik Lundqvist. He had the heart procedure. I was hoping that even now he couldn't play or something, the Caps would bring him on in some capacity to teach these younger guys until the Caps found a solution, because the solution right now, yes, Vanacek and Samsonov are decent, but when it comes to the playoffs, you sort of need to have an experienced goalie that has seen playoff action, because I mean, they did all right, but for me, I'd rather see a goalie who's been at least in the playoffs in some capacity beforehand, not just throwing them on the ice and like, have fun. This is your first playoff experience.
Exactly. And I think that what's important, it just with you saying that, is this series right now, when you have a Vasilevsky playing for Tampa Bay, well, he's been there. He kicks ass. He's done amazing. But then he also choked on that one game where it was 7-0. So, but he's bounced back. So it's kind of like I think this series is really trying to figure out, like, what is it with the series right now that I think is the one word to kind of wrap it up. And I think it really comes down to experience. You have an experienced team, you have older team with Tampa Bay, and then you have that goalie who's fantastic. But Avalanche isn't going to give up, which is great. So I think for the Capitals, we do need that, that Braden Holtby Zen mindset and that skill, and someone who's been there to kind of get the younger goalies, who don't have as much experience in that mindset and say, okay, like, work together and let's do it. But we've got to be consistent, which is what they're lacking across the board, unfortunately, this last season.
I mean, the Washington Capitals, they won the Stanley Cup back in 2018, and ever since have either been not in the playoffs or eliminated in the first round. So I think the coach is there. I just feel like that they need to add more pieces to the puzzle in terms of getting some younger players, more speed and experienced goaltenders. Do you think anything different with what I said there? Do you have more than that? What are your thoughts there?
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think that just as any sports fan, any sport across the, NFL, NBA, whatever, you have your favorites, and you hate to see that, yes, they are getting older and not playing as quickly as they used to. So I think that with the 2018 Stanley Cup run, we all just wanted to hold on to that group and just not let go. It was like, this is it. This is our thing. And, things happen, trades happen, injuries happen. And I think that that's, one thing that they had to consider. I will say there have been 2 contracts recently signed with 2 players that I think are going to be a fantastic addition to the roster. So you have Brett Leeson and Beck Malenstein. I think both forwards, both young. They're both 23, 24, and they're both one is 6'3" and one is 6'5". So the height and everything like that, they did fantastic at Hershey. They played, they came up and played let's see, I think Leeson he scored 6 points in 36 games, and Malenstein had 1. It's there. I think they're starting to realize they got to bring up some younger energy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And heck, I mean, once Ovechkin breaks Gretzky's record, I'm hoping that comes soon. There might be a second calling for him here in soccer after seeing that. I saw that. My eyes dropped. I could not believe it.
Well, the first clip that I saw was when he just checked the guy on the field, and I thought, God, he's just such a beast. He's such an athlete, and I just love that, and I love everything about the fact that he scored and got MVP. Well deserved. Hats off to him.
So, looking now, obviously the Avalanche, former Capital Andrei Burakovsky is on that team as well. Not really much from the West, I can say. Did you see anything from the Western side of the playoffs that interested you at all, or
in regards to players?
Yeah, no, that stood out to you in terms of the playoffs.
I will say, I'll be honest, I am pulling for the Colorado. I think I actually might have even said this on your podcast last year.
I believe you did too.
I think it's their time. I think that there are players that when you look at a McKinnon and a Taves, there's some good players. I like their goalie. I like their mindset, and I feel like the drive is there. So that's what I want to see. Tampa Bay, you're dealing with names that you've heard so many times over and over again, but still, you can't say that someone like a Steven Stamkos isn't, kick-ass player, and Vasilevsky and Palat and Kucherov and all those fun names to say. So I don't know. I think it's just been fun. I think it's been fun to watch, and I think that with them being without point in the series has been huge. But I think Tampa Bay is definitely I don't see either one of them giving up, but I am pulling for Colorado in this one.
Colorado did have a chance to win the Stanley Cup the other night.
Yep.
They ended up losing 3-2, and tonight is Game 6 in Tampa Bay. This episode probably will not get out by the time that game is played, but Colorado has another chance to win the Stanley Cup in Tampa, or the Lightning can force Game 7 going back to Colorado.
Right.
What are your thoughts tonight? Do you think the Avalanche win or the Lightning win? And if the Lightning win, what do you think will happen in Game 7?
I guess because they're going to be at home and the fans are crazy, and when you have the fans behind you, your adrenaline gets pumping and everything's just going to go. I do think that Tampa Bay may take it tonight, but I strongly am hoping and praying that Colorado is going to take it at home, which is fine. Take it at home, bring it back to Colorado. It's been since 2001, so it's time. But if they won in Tampa Bay, I'd be okay with that. We won in Vegas, so.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't. I mean, if you had a chance to win, just win it there, because if you go to Game 7, anything can happen.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to see what will take place in these 1 or 2 games. I mean, the competitive nature of this series, I really feel like has been just very, very, very high level. I mean, two great goaltenders from what I've
Mhm.
seen. I haven't really watched all the games, but still from what I can make out. So,
Yeah.
but the Lightning, if they win, they have a chance to three-peat. That's very, very rare in the NHL. It has
It is.
happened too, but three-peating for the Lightning, this could be a potential dynasty down in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I don't want to. No comment.
Yeah, you don't really like that, do you?
And no, I don't. But but it's like we all know. It's like if your team is the dynasty team, then you're like, yeah, we're gonna kick ass and go. Like how I feel about the Golden State Warriors, but that's okay. But when it comes to this, it's Tampa Bay has yes, they have the skill, but they also have the experience. But I think Colorado has younger players, and I think that drive to win the Stanley Cup is definitely there. But again, it's all going to come back to experience. Who's going to be in a mindset of a game 6? They're exhausted. They're flying back and forth, and you've got the opposing team in your face 24/7. So Tampa Bay could win it at home, but I want to see the Avalanche. Just hoist that Stanley Cup trophy and just be like, that's it, or Stanley Cup.
I don't want to see Tampa Bay win, and I'll tell you exactly why I don't really like Tampa Bay, and it goes back to that Stanley Cup run the Capitals had, and there's dirty players decide it was a good idea to pull Kuznetsov's jersey up off his back, and I'm like, come on, that's unnecessary. And ever since that day, I'm like, no, I don't really like the Lightning.
Yeah. No, I get it. And it's, but of course, like then you start looking at, when you look at their roster and you think, well, some of these players you would love to have on your team, and would I feel differently? No, because I promise you, if Brad Marchand or Ryan Reeves were becoming the Capital, it would be really difficult for me to. I would never purchase a jersey. I'll say that much.
Yeah, that would be very interesting if one of those two became a Capital for sure. But Stanley Cup action, it's heating up the last two games of the series. If a game 7 is necessary, once again, the podcast might not come out at the conclusion of the Stanley Cup final. So this might come out afterwards, but once again, another great Stanley Cup playoff, I would think. And the best part about it, Boston and Pittsburgh got ousted in the first round, which, I mean, like I said, we're both Caps fans. And if the Caps can't win, as long as the Penguins don't win, I don't care.
Exactly.
I'll watch hockey.
And then now you can just kind of watch it and just, not just be like, hey, whatever. You just want to see, I want to see a clean game. It is a physical game. They are playing 60 minutes. If anything, the Capitals should be watching the 60 minutes being played, and it's been hardcore. And I think the most exciting part was that when we went into watching game 2 and it was a 7-0 win, that was something that you just don't see that. It's usually so much closer. So that just, I think, made the series that much more exciting. And it's nice to see, Burakovsky, good for him, making a name for himself. You can't, good guy, whatever. I hope the best for them. But we'll see if Vasilevsky and his experience versus Kemper, see what they do tonight.
Absolutely. Anna Knox, once again, of the Power Play Point podcast. Anna, always a pleasure chopping up with you and talking some playoff hockey. We appreciate the time. Let us know where we can find the Power Play Point podcast once again.
Sure thing. Well, it's both are on Podbean, so it's also Sports on the Hill on Monday nights. Only during hockey season. But they do Sports on the Hill goes Facebook Live. Power Play does. We do all of our shows on Podbean, Spotify, everything like that. It's available. It's just Gil and I talking. Not always having the same opinion, but that's what makes it fun.
Absolutely. Anna, always a pleasure. Keep up the great work. We'll be talking to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Have a great rest of your segment. And I will, we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Once again, that was Anna Knox of the Power Play Point podcast. When we return, we will wrap things up with some MLB talk right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
Welcoming you back to the Kirby on Sports podcast. Once again, big thanks to Anna Knox of Sports on the Hill podcast and the Power Play Point podcast for talking NHL playoffs with us. Back here in Studio K with our special guest in studio, Tristen. Tristen, it's a great time to be a Yankees fan.
It's beautiful.
First to 50 wins, they look to be towering away at this MLB season so far, and here my Nationals are just rebuilding after a 2019 World Series victory, and they sell the farm, but still baseball's great, a lot of interesting storylines, but the Yankees, first and foremost, they get 50 wins, they're tearing it up.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're not like, there's not anybody that's really, it seems, at their level so far. I mean, a lot of their wins are close, but the Astros are still the Astros. Like, the Astros give them heck, like, every time they play. But even today, like, they just got win 53 on a 3-run home run from Judge in the bottom of the 10th. That makes 28. Like, they just had the arbitration hearing for him the other day to give him $19 million for this year, since he's not, like, technically under contract. It's like franchise tag, I guess. But they're just gonna hand him a piece of paper and just tell him to put any number on it, like on a check at the end of the season, because they cannot let him leave, because he's having a fantastic season, obviously. And they picked up people, just like people that were expected to be smaller contributors, like Jose Trevino and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa from Texas. They traded, and both of them are starting the majority of the time. Trevino's a Verge All-Star this year, and he's, like, playing out of his mind. Isaiah Kalefa is an excellent defender, and he can hit it as well. But it's a great lineup. I mean, Stan's not playing fantastic. Judge does enough, but I mean, you got Rizzo, you got Torres. They added freaking 60-year-old Josh Donaldson. But Josh Donaldson still got some pop for sure. Matt Carpenter, like you see, they got Matt Carpenter after he's in the minors and he hits freaking 5 home runs in his first 8 at bats for them.
God.
They're just an electrifying team, and they're every single time I look at the score and they're down 1, 2, 3 in the 8th inning. Like I think it's a realistic chance they might win. Like sometimes that's just they're different. I saw it was them 53 and 20 is the best or the third best start by any team since 1930. Like, and yeah, it's weird though because yesterday they got hit no hit yesterday, and they got no hit today through 7 innings and won the game. Like, they're weird, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of other solid teams. I mean, the entire AL East for the most part. I mean, the Orioles aren't too great, but they're not awful. Like, but I mean,
the Orioles are looking a little bit better.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I'll say I think once Adley Rutschman, their prospect catcher, number 1 prospect, got called up, I feel like he really added like that drive. Like, okay, we got Adley up here. We can let's sort of just be positive and see what we can do with it. And Adley had his first career triple like 2 or 3 games after getting called up. I mean, for the most part, I feel like the Orioles are playing just a little bit better ever since he's been called up. And I mean, it's going to be a long, long, long road for the Orioles with that family getting sued or something like that because of ownership, so on and so forth. You look at the Nats, the Lerners might be selling. You have the Braves, who just came off a World Series win, lost Freddie Freeman. That game, by the way, Freddie Freeman coming back to Atlanta, very emotional.
Yeah.
The videos there, great. But then you look out west, you see the Dodgers they're still looking stacked. Can they turn that into a World Series championship, or will their playoff pitching go down the tubes like it usually has? So, I mean, a whole lot of storylines, and we're not even to the All-Star game yet, but it's still shaping out to be another exciting MLB season so far. Plus, we still haven't hit the Field of Dreams game yet.
Oh yeah, that would be excellent too.
Oh,
That's such a cool idea. Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, the Padres are pretty good too. The Angels just had that implosion, but like overall, the Angels are a really nice roster. If they can get hot, they can compete. Because they went on that just I don't know what the word is, awful streak before firing Joe Madden. But yeah, there's a couple. The Giants, I think the Giants are pretty solid. The Twins are pretty solid. But like the AL East for the most part, like I think the Orioles are hovering right around 500, maybe just a little bit below. But like the Rays, Red Sox, and Blue Jays are all like above 500 teams, and they still like. I mean, the Yankees have a winning record against everybody in the division, I believe. And oh yeah, the Mets are great too. I mean, the Mets are fantastic. When's the last time we had both New York teams like at the top of the AL and NL, like consistently for it's been like, I don't know, at least 2 months or so that they've been consistently at the top. But yeah, there's a lot of good teams. I mean, the Braves run last year was awesome, and the Braves have always been just around the playoffs, like, and they really did it last year. I couldn't believe that Freddie Freeman left, but he got so much money, you know. And I mean, it's the Dodgers. The Dodgers were already in crazy good before adding Freddie Freeman, who's an MVP candidate like most years. And that team's just so stacked, you know. I mean, so's the Yankees. The Yankees is stacked. That's been the difference. That's why Yankees are winning games, just because of their bullpen. Ultimately, like they're putting up a lot of runs, but Clay Holmes, the closer, because Aroldis Chapman's been like rehabbing for a long time, and practically like I don't know if he'll get his job back when he comes back, but Clay Holmes has gone like 38 innings without giving up a run. Like, it's insane. All five other pitchers are like main rotation pitchers have a winning record. Nestor Cortez was just like a farm player system getting traded all around. He's probably going to be an all-star. And then, the Dodgers starting pitching is amazing too. So it's coming down to that. But there's a lot of young, exciting players like out now. There's a lot of people that are coming in, like you said. What's his name from Adley Rutschman? These young players are coming in a lot this year and making an immediate impact, and that's really cool to see. This guy's getting the call up and getting like stamping their like spot in the like staying up in the bigs.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot. The game's got a bright future. There's a lot of great young players.
In some of the younger teams now, like the Nats, the Orioles, they're going to have to find some of these guys to make that permanent stay and help build these teams back, you know, because the Nats were just there in 2019 and they ended up trading everybody away because, I mean, it just wasn't working out, you know? Scherzer wasn't working out. Now he's playing in the minors, oblique strain. Rendon in Los Angeles. We have Bryce Harper still in Philly. Joe Girardi gets canned, by the way. I saw that coming. I sort of laughed when that happened. I was like, oh yeah. Former Yankees manager. You were probably like, oh, that's poor Joe.
And not really. I mean, Joe, like he had a great stretch, but down the end, like the last couple of years of him being the manager, he just wasn't. He had such talent, you know. So many times the Yankees, because nobody ever feels bad for the Yankees getting eliminated or not making the playoffs because they've won so much. But like it was a solid, like the last 4 or 5 years of his stint, like they were barely even a playoff team and they had talent. Like, so I like Boone. Boone's cool, but Girardi, like that's the same thing with the Phillies. Like the Phillies have a good roster, like they really do.
And Joe Madden for the Angels got released too.
That's what I'm saying. They had to. That stretch that was awful because they were like one of the best. They had one of the best records in the league, and then they won like freaking 15 out of 20 games or something. Like it's absurd because right now they're just like barely above 500, and they were like. It looked like a real contender in the beginning. But Ohtani the other night, like he had 8 RBIs, and then the next night freaking hit like a really insanely fast home run or something. He just does everything. Like
Ohtani is a once in a lifetime in this league. I'd say that he's looking incredible. And
Mike Trout anytime Mike Trout laces him up, he just gets back to all-star form, like MVP type form. Because it seems like he hasn't played that much in recent years. But those two, I mean, that's like one of the best like duos in the league for sure, offensively and defense. I mean, nobody else has got to play like that, like Ohtani. It's a crazy weapon to have. Absolutely.
Still a lot to come. I'm looking forward to that Field of Dreams game, obviously, and the All-Star game. That's going to be a good one to watch as well. It always is. But I don't think there's no, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else I missed MLB wise. Oh yeah, Ryan Zimmerman's jersey retirement. I just have to touch on and say that was a very, very great ceremony to retire number 11 for the Nats.
Zimmerman's great. I'm not really a Nats fan, but I love Zimmerman. You guys have a lot of class players. Like also Soto. Is Soto staying?
Man, that's a tough one. I can't really answer that quite yet.
That'd be heartbreaking, kind of, if he left.
It kind of would,
because he looks like he's gonna be something.
No, but Mike Rizzo clearly said on the radio that we're not trading Soto.
Yeah.
So they just have to come up with the money.
Yeah.
And give it to him.
Exactly.
That's all. And if they don't do that, I'm not sure why. Because Juan Soto is still young, and he has the pieces that he's one of the piece, and he's still young. You know. He can add to the puzzle of what the Nationals need to get back. But this is so many different teams as well. But that's just for the Washington Nationals. So one of the many pieces,
Absolutely.
Yeah. We'll take a quick break and wrap things up right after this. Coming to you from Studio K, the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Hey, sports fans. Thank you for listening to and supporting the Kirby on Sports podcast with founder and host Josh Kirby, along with lead contributor Dan Dembski. Like, subscribe, and give them a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. My name is Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation. Our company helps leaders build engaged and productive teams. Exclusively for listeners of the Kirby on Sports podcast, you can take an opportunity to discover your primary communication style and learn more about effective communication with others. Text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free copy of the Working From Home Communication Assessment, where you'll learn your primary communication style, how to better communicate with others not like you, and tips on working remotely based on your personal communication style. 10 minutes, tons of resources. Learn about yourself and your team. Again, text Kirby to 757-903-0743 for your free assessment report today. I'm Dr. Dave Miles, founder of Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, where we help you and your team be more engaged and productive by understanding each other better. Back to you, Josh.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com, and I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
Once again, I'm Josh. That's Tristen, Studio K, the Kirby on Sports podcast. That's about all the time we have for this edition. But Tristen,
thanks so much for having me on, man.
It was a lot of fun.
It
was a lot of fun. Well, I didn't really realize you were in this avenue of sports stuff and like to talk sports and eventually covering sports with this internship you're getting soon or something like that. So,
yes, sir. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you went to school for this and doing some intern work, so hopefully, it pans out well for you, and we'll definitely be having you back in studio here again soon. But
thanks, man.
Yeah, a lot of fun. So for Tristen, I'm Josh. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for listening, tuning in. The Kirby on Sports podcast is available on all streaming platforms, all social media platforms, www.kirbyonsports.com. Thanks, as always, to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Dr. Dave Leadership Corporation, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. And as always, folks, we thank you for the support. Always. It's been a while since I've been on, but it was a much needed break, and I'm glad to be back in the saddle recording podcast covering sports, doing what I love. So it's a lot of fun, and we can't wait to bring you more content in the future to come. So until the next time you hear us or see us, always remember to create greatness. We say so long and peace out.